Hey there, Uncle Milo again, and I want to bring you Uncle Milo Explains number 9, lighters. Here's the scenario. A week ago, I was out camping, had this great kid come along. I mean, this kid, like, he only comes on the most challenging campouts. I'll call him K, that's his initial. So K, he's got this great stuff. He slept under a tarp that he laid out himself. He made a bed out of hemlock boughs. I mean, it was awesome. Then he pulls out a lighter. I'm looking at it, like the cheesiest lighter you could imagine. It's actually one of these lighters. Now what I wanted to do, I wanted to stop right there and tell him, hey Kay, this is why you don't bring this kind of lighter, but I figured I'd do it as an Uncle Milo Explains episode, because I want to explain why that lighter was bad and how to get a better one. So, let me start with lighting. Now, these are a whole selection of lighters. I went out to the dollar store, I went to a couple of different dollar stores, I went to the local, one of the local gas stations. I got a whole bunch of different lighters, because what I wanted to show you was the different kinds of lighters available. I went to Home Depot. Okay, just to show you a whole variety of lighters and show what to look for in a good lighter. You've got to decide what's best for you. You can actually, not every lighter is perfect for every situation. I wouldn't call any one lighter the perfect lighter, but there's some which are better and some which are worse. Okay? Number one thing is lighting mechanisms. For instance, Bic makes two different kinds of lighters. You got your $2 and your $2.50 lighter. This one has what's called a flint. Now, a flint actually has a physical little tube, a little cylinder of flint material, and it sparks. It's a sparker. This one is the electronic one that creates a spark. It's got a mechanism that hammers on a piece of quartz. It makes electricity. Basically, just call it your electronic sparker. Now, the reason why a flint mechanism isn't so good is not something that you would know unless you did something that I did, which is I stored a number of these lighters for a long time. After 10 years, the flint mechanism, the flint material, is actually very, very active chemically. That's what makes it flint, that's what makes it spark so easily. And what happens is it slowly oxidizes. Give it about 10 years and it turns to dust. That means you go out, you put your lighter away and your camping equipment, you come back, you say, hey, I want to grab a lighter, I want to go out camping. A spark type lighter, that flint may not be workable anymore. It may be full of gas, but you won't be able to light it without that sparker. So the electronic one is preferable. I prefer to have the electronic one. It actually is better. That seems to last pretty much indefinitely. How many years it will last? A lot longer than a flint will, that's for sure. And most of these lighters are not made to replace flints. There are some lighters that are out there that are made to replace flints. They're hit or miss. They're hard to find. They're not just walk into a store and get them. Most of these are just walk into a store and get them. Okay. The second thing that you want to get for a lighter is you want to be able to see where the fuel is. Now that is a big bugaboo of mine. I don't like a lighter like this type where I can't see where it's going. Most lighters, you can't see how much fuel it has in it. So I found that some of the lighters, like this type here, it's got a view here where you can actually see where the fuel is. Another one, this Scripto Aim and Flame, this has got a window. I love these windows. This type here, dollar store thing, it's got a window. This type here, although it may be cheap, the one thing about this is you can see how much fuel is in these lighters. This type of lighter here, these Bics, they do have the problem. Basically what you got to do is you got to you can put a light up to them and you can see them, but if you buy the wrong ones, you buy something like this looks like there's no way to see the fuel. What's nice about this one is underneath there's actually a window here where you can see what the fuel level is, and that's kind of nice. You need to know how much fuel there is in your lighter. So that's another thing to look for. Okay. What type of lighting mechanism does it have? Can I see where the fuel is? The third one is it refillable? The Bic lighters, this is your Bic Mini, your classic Bic without an adjustable flame, and your electronic Bic, none of these are refillable. And I have that to me is a big thing too. This Scripto Aim and Flame, none of these are refillable. Now, you can see how much fuel you have, but the thing of it is, if you're out in the woods and you spend a lot of time there, you come back, you've used up most of your fuel, it's nice to be able to refill your lighter when you want to. It's not really worth refilling a lighter that's got a flint on it, but some of the types do have are refillable. Turns out most of the cheap ones have that little refill port. To refill it, you've got your large or your small cans of butane. I like this little can of butane because it's small and you can see how much butane is left. And your big one, this is pretty much classic. You can get these pretty much anywhere. These days, this single port seems to work pretty good. You just take your thing here, push it down. Sometimes you got to shake this up and get it nice and hot. You got to warm it with your hand in order to push the stuff through. Just a warning: don't be refilling a lighter while you've got a flame next to it. One time I did that. I had a candle right next to it. I'm refilling the lighter. Well, I'll put it to you this way: my eyebrows regrew after about a month. But it's a dangerous thing. You don't want to be doing that. So, finally, there's the question of what type of flame. Now that, again, is one of these critical decisions that you have to make. This type of lighter, very nice. It even has a lock here. That's your classic flame. Okay? The Bic lighters all have classic flame. Okay? Even the electronic lighting, classic flame. What I'm talking about, this is what's called the jet flame. Now that jet flame is good, especially when you're camping, because say you have a little bit of wind. I want to make some wind here. If you have a little bit of wind, that wind will put your flame right out. I mean, you can't light your lighter. That was another thing I was telling Kay. I was telling Kay, hey, listen, you can't light your lighter here because it's windy. And sure enough, he had a lot of trouble getting it going because a little bit of wind, poof, gone. The jet type, that will keep going no matter what, for the most part. Some of them are a little bit more finicky than others. Well, that's important. My go-to lighter these days is this one here. Doesn't matter that it has a cap. That's neither here nor there. But this one has electronic ignition. You can see right through the whole thing. The whole thing is quite. You can fuel is quite visible in here. It's refillable, and it has a jet-type flame, which is a little bit easier to put out, but it holds still pretty well. And this is the type that I go to. Another thing I need to show you is that some of them, like this type, let me turn this off here, but a lot of them, not the Bic lighters. I know the Bics are our favorite lighters of people, and honestly, I use this mini Bic for my alcohol stove. It can throw right in with the alcohol stove. It's $1. It's a great little lighter, but it's not adjustable. That means that's the flame you get. So if you have an adjustable flame, it's kind of nice because you can go from a really small flame to a really big flame if you want it. This one doesn't adjust much. Some of them adjust a lot. Some of them sometimes get out of adjustment, but it's nice to be able to adjust how much. Another thing you have to worry about with lighters is when they get cold. If they get cold, the gas has less and less pressure. The warmer it is, the better the pressure. The colder it is, the worse the pressure. Sometimes when it's cold weather, you got to put the lighter underneath your armpit. You've got to warm it up before it will work. Honestly, there's a lot of times I'm out in cold weather and it just won't light until I warm that lighter up. That's a common problem. Another problem is sturdiness. This lighter here, it's got a fuel view. It's adjustable. It's got a it's adjustable. It's got a nice long flame. It is electronic. It's refillable. It's got everything that it needs, but there's one problem with it. I bought a number of these. I thought they were great. Turns out this long stick here can break easily. So sturdiness is kind of important. That's why this one here, it's short, it's hard to break. This one's easy to break. Even though this is nice to have a long stick that we can stick into a fire, that's not so good. This Scripto, I noticed that what they did was they put a improved sleeve on this. This is to keep it from breaking. Also, this has a child safety lock. That's another thing too. A lot of these, like this one here, this type says child resistant. That means you got to press down harder. I don't always appreciate that when I'm in, and when I have it at the house. Yes, I really want this to be child resistant. I have kids over, or when I had younger kids, you really want to have a child resistant lighter. The problem is when you're out in the woods and it's cold and your fingers are cold and you've got to get a fire lit, child resistant lighters sometimes are a nuisance. I only put up with them because I know the alternative is to have a lighter that's so easy to light, a 2-year-old could light it and burn the house down. You don't want that to happen. So just be aware that the child-resistant lighters, if you can get a lighter that's not child-resistant, that's easy to light, great. Put it in your backpack. Don't let little kids get near it. Okay? Now, the most important thing, though, to know, these things look like a blowtorch, act like a blowtorch, but they're not blowtorches. Every single one of these safety warnings somewhere tells you no more than 30 seconds. And that's a really important thing, because you want to use it again. A lot of times you use it more than 30 seconds, it'll work for more than 30 seconds, and that will be all she wrote. You will have no more working lighter after that. I ruined lighter after lighter after lighter. I was just working them like a blowtorch. A true blowtorch, this thing here costs $5. That's expensive for a lighter. $5. You want to buy a real blowtorch? They start at $30. A real blowtorch can run continuously. These things, 30 seconds only. So what happens is, anytime I've got a lighter, I want to light something, I start 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005, 1,006, 1,007, 1,008, 1,009, 1,010. I count until it's 30. At 30 seconds, I must stop. Must stop and make sure it cools back down. Every time I light something, I'm counting how long it is. So if I've got the flame underneath the fire and I'm trying to get something going, I've got to count, because if I go beyond 30 seconds, something's going to melt in that lighter. We won't have it anymore. When you're out in the woods, you're out camping, you don't want to lose your lighter. So you want to know how much fuel, you want to know that it's going to start, you want to know that it's going to last a long time, so you want electronic ignition. You don't want something that's a little bit too delicate. This is a little bit delicate. It's not the sort of thing you take into the woods very often. This one is fine as long as you keep an eye on the fuel and you know that you're going to replace it. Okay, and as I said, this one with the spark, you're not going to use a spark mechanism for too many years. So that's okay for a very tiny, small lighter. This is more of the go-to type that you use for things like melting paracord and things like that. So just wanted to explain the pros and cons of better and not so good lighters. By the way, this particular lighter, I did find if I use a very powerful light, I can pretty well see if there's fuel in there. I'm not really sure how good that's going to work. So this particular lighter, maybe not. It does have a fantastic flame, though. I would tend to top it off before I went out to the woods, because it is refillable, as most of those are. Okay, well, thank you for watching Uncle Milo Explains number 9, lighters. And hope you can watch some more of them. And happy 4th of July.